Good evening, Internet, and welcome back to listen to Kent and Chris pontificate over House of the Dragons, Episode 8, The Lord of Tides, and Kenter at Your Own Risk, Episode number 34. If you've started with us in the beginning and you've stuck with us this long, thank you for doing that. If we're just picking you up for the first time, well then, you're in for a treat. Kent, how are you doing?
I'm alright. You?
I had a pretty relaxing and chill week at work compared to last week, dealing with the possible hurricane. So yeah, it was definitely a better week.
Good. I can't say I woke up to it because last night before I went to bed, I looked out my door and I saw that there was a package. I've been expecting a package, and then I was like, I don't want to get something that excites me, so I'm just gonna wait till I wake up. So, wake up and then get my breakfast. I open up this package from Joe that did the podcast with us. I got myself a nice little treat here, let me tell you. There's a Trick or Treat, like the movie. It's like a coloring book, kids activity book, all with that theme. 2 odd trading cards, one with Hannibal and one with, what the hell's the pumpkin-headed kid in Trick or Treat? What's his name?
Oh, shit. Sam?
Sam, there you go. So,
and which Hannibal are we talking about?
The TV series.
Oh, the good one. Well, I should say the best one. Not. There really hasn't been a bad Hannibal yet.
Right. And then the piece de resistance is a 13-day spooky countdown, kind of like Advent calendar with scary Funkos. And I'm super excited to see what they look like, but I'm legit going to wait till like the 19th to start popping open the doors.
So it's sounding like your Christmas came for Halloween this year.
I actually thought about it today. I was like, can I just unofficially move my birthday to October? Because having a December birthday sucks anyways, because nobody wants to get you 2 gifts, right? So if I just move my birthday unofficially to October, then, things are better, right?
See, my grandmother had it easy because her December birthday was at the beginning of the month. Same thing with my uncle. But my stepmom is like 5 days before Christmas. So yeah, she gets that whole, one present kind of thing.
Yeah, it sucks. And to go even further with, not me, but Raylene, her birthday is 1 day before Valentine's Day. That sucks.
Yeah, I've always had a really big penchant for October since my birthday's in, October. It's a good month. If you want to come over, I'll share with you.
Brag right there.
And
I think I would go, I don't know if I could choose a date. I think I'd go 29th.
That'd be 1 week right Halloween. After me.
Yeah, sure. You got the double deuce. I could go with the reverse deuce. I think it would work. That's I don't know. That might be a thing next year.
What weirded me out is my stepbrother, Jeff. His birthday is exactly 2 weeks before mine. Just out of whatever shit was going on in 1979. Our parents were both all getting busy in January that year, so.
Yes. Except for mine, because you got a year on me.
Anyways, so, yeah, I know, thanks a lot. So, this episode was called The Lord of the Tides. Or is it just Lord of the Tides?
The.
Okay,
yeah, I get
there
that
is the.
There's actually 2 thes.
I think, in my opinion, I don't know, there wasn't a lot really going on in this episode, but it was really fucking good, overall. It wasn't a lot of moving parts. There weren't a ton of scenes, but, everything that they had going on was just really, really well done. I mean, we're 8 episodes into a 10-episode first season, and I don't know if you'd agree with me on this. Maybe you would, but I really think that like all of the character interactions are just on point in this show. I would say probably better than most of the ones we got in Game of Thrones. But that's been, I would say, the majority of what we've received so far this first season. And like a lot of we'll have to see, because we haven't really gotten like a ton of plot, if you know what I mean. Or there's been a few action sequences, but not a ton either. I mean, there's a small plot, but we don't really have, events happening, I guess you would say.
No, because we've had 4 time jumps.
Is it only 4?
I think it's 4.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know.
Because it was, episode 1, then episode 4, then 5. Wait.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
shit, we got a time jump in episode 1.
Okay, so, I wasn't even counting that, so... Because from 3 to 4 was the time jump too, right?
Well, let's see. We had the time jump in the prologue in episode 1. And then...
Oh, actually, episode 3 was a time jump because
we had the 6 months, and then the years that they've been at war. So is it what, like 5 or 6?
I think we're 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
In 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's crazy. And judging from everything, I don't think we're going to get another time jump for a while.
No, I think this is it. I think everything is going to be going, unless we might get one in between, like a couple seasons later on. I think, like, at least we're probably set until season 3, maybe season 4.
That makes sense. It's interesting looking at the ratings for each episode because, it's not like we've disliked any episode, but I think the episode that we all kind of disliked the most is the lowest rated. And currently this is sitting at the highest rated, but I think that's also just because it is so new. Every time something brand new comes out, usually it has a strong rating before it settles down somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, I could hazard a guess of why everybody made it the highest rated episode so far.
Yeah. Aegon's hair, right?
No. Paddy Considine.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, after the episode thing, he did, they talk with some of the cast about certain scenes. Really interesting, like, listening to him talk. He's an interesting dude.
Well, I guess from what I was reading, that the scene where he drops the crown and Daemon picks it up and puts it on his head was an accident. But they kept rolling the cameras and ended up liking it so much that, that was the scene they ended up going with for the actual shoot.
Oh, well, I'm happy because that's actually something I mentioned on the blog, so good.
All right. I mean, just before we start, like, would you disagree or would you agree with my earlier statement?
I think I disagree right now with the thought that I don't remember season 1 of Game of Thrones all that well. So I guess I can't have an objective opinion because right now the only thing that's fresh in my mind is this, and I have nostalgia for Game of Thrones, and nostalgia doesn't mean shit as far as quality goes, especially in the early seasons. So I'm iffy. I guess I don't disagree nor agree.
I mean,
because I don't remember.
I think a lot of where I'm coming from with this, though, is that we had a lot of really great scenes, but we didn't have a lot of scenes where it was just kind of character development. Where people were just sitting down and talking, because there was so much plot and so many characters and so many different areas that we needed to focus on in season 1 to learn, where everybody was.
That makes sense because they've had, no matter how you look at it, a small number of quote-unquote core characters and then side characters, and they've cycled through them pretty rapidly.
Even if we consider, like, there's probably relatively about the same number of characters, main characters so far. There's way less locations. So,
oh, yeah.
you're not having to deal with, like, here's only 1 or 2 over here, we've got John up there, so now we're going to have to put a bunch of characters around for John to interact with. You know, and like one of the scenes I remember really liking from season 1, and I liked it in the book too, was when John was on the way to the wall and Tyrion and John got a chance to talk. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, and we had a lot of great... I think we got a lot of great character development scenes further on. Like once... fucking, what's his name? The guy who played Tywin. I forgot his...
Oh, gosh.
I forgot his name in real life.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
But, yeah, once he showed up, you know, we had great scenes with Cersei and him. We had great scenes, you know, with him and Arya. You know, so shit like that. But, yeah, I really think the first couple of seasons in Game of Thrones didn't have as many scenes like that I could point to and be like, that's an example of great acting like House of the Dragon has so far. Because it had a lot more action, a lot more plot, a lot more movement, a lot more events going on.
Okay.
Charles
I can see
Dance.
where you're coming from. Damn it, yeah. I was trying to find it too. But I mean, yeah, this has been a lot more of an intimate setting because we haven't had to go from, I don't know, continent to continent to... we haven't really had to learn a bunch of the families either. We've kind of stuck to one core family with a little bit of outsider. So this is its own different beast, and I don't know. Do you think it's ever going to be able to just not be compared to Game of Thrones, or is that just always going to linger?
I mean, it's always going to linger just the same way that, you know, like Rings of Power is always going to be compared to the Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit would be compared to the Lord of the Rings, or any of the Star Wars stuff is going to be compared to the original trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, or the sequel trilogy, depending upon when you were born and, you know, what Star Wars you grew up with. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's a continuation, even if it's a prequel, in the same world. So I think the comparison is just automatic.
Fair enough.
All right, so just correct me if I'm wrong, because you take better notes while we're watching. I think I'm a little fresher on this one, though. I've asked Krista if we could watch it this morning instead of watching it the morning after it aired, so there's not as much time in between. But we basically open up in Driftmark with Vaemond Valerian and Rhaenys talking about how off-screen in the 6-year time jump, they haven't seen Corlys at all because he's been fighting in the Stepstones again. And he's on his way back because he's been injured and he's taken blood sickness, basically sepsis, and probably isn't going to live. So now we have to call into question the legitimacy of who is going to be his heir and the heir to Driftmark. We also see that Bela is there. We don't know why yet, but we find that out later on in the episode, that she's been given to Rhaenys to be her ward, kind of as, probably in my opinion, like a hostage to ensure that there's no repercussions for the death of Laenor. And
wait a second. When the hell did was that during like the scene by the weird tree when we find that out?
That she was sent to be her ward?
Yeah.
Yes.
That explains. I blanked out for like a brief, like, I don't know, hot second during that scene, and I gotta go back to the blog because I actually openly complained. I'm like, why is Daemon not taking care of his girls? It didn't. I was like, how'd they not explain that? But apparently they did, and blanked out. It
was just like a throwaway line, like, because in that scene, Rhaenyra shows up with Rhaena. Rhaenyra shows up with Rhaena to see Rhaenys.
Oh, you should see my notes. They're fantastic for that.
And she's like, thank you for taking care of Bela as your ward. You know, she's developed into a beautiful woman under your tutorship. And, you know, we were worried that, you know, there would be repercussions because of Laenor, but you've treated her fairly, kind of blah, blah, blah. Bullshit.
Okay.
So we get... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Please interject.
I mean, two things I just want to... Actually, three things. All right. One, Bela's hair game is now on point. Thank you. I'm happy about that. Secondly, Corlys didn't just have like a blood infection. He got his throat slashed, and I'm like, if you're going to say that he's got a blood infection, you could have done something else. Like, I'm picturing this dude getting his throat slashed. I'm like, just pick a different body part, because I'm hearing throat slash. I'm like, how's he not dead already? It just seems like a weird body part to do the cut, if you ask me.
I am so glad that you focus on some of the details you focus on, Kent.
Yeah. And then the other thing was just kind of like, so that's your explanation, is that Corley's had nothing else going on. He gave zero fucks about his haul after just complaining all last episode about his haul. Now he's
fucking murdering my son in my hall. All right, see ya, Hall. I'm not going to be back for 6 years, if ever.
Yeah, like, fuck y'all. And so I'm sitting there like,
fuck ya, Hall.
Yeah, instead of fuck y'all, fuck ya, Hall. There you go. I just find it weird that, like, you know, I could understand if he's gone for a couple years, but man, he is hell bent on that war that just never seems to want to end. So
you know what it was? Every time he was in the hall, he just saw the charred body of Laner, and he was like, I can't stay here. I've got to go kill the crab feeders' second, third, fifth, and seventh cousins who are starting to rebel again.
All the crab people. Ah, gosh. That you know, and they're never going to show us any of that cool stuff. They're never going to show it, because they're just not going to. But in my mind, it's still kind of cool. But I really want to know, like, if you get your throat slashed, like, it couldn't have been that deep. I don't know.
So, would you say we're never going to get it? Never going to get it?
And Vogue.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, I think, like, people don't realize how many people died from being hit with an arrow, or being, even, you know, hundreds of years later, being shot with a bullet and just getting, like, threads from their shirt in the wound, you know. So yes, the fact that he got blood fever isn't anything special, but the fact that, like, they chose to give it to him by slashing his throat is awkward.
Do you think he'll... I think we'll see him... Well, I don't know if we're going to see him again. If we do, is he going to be able to speak?
I think he's dead. I think he's... That's it.
You think he's already dead? Okay.
Even if he isn't dead, I don't think we're going to see him again.
I wouldn't be surprised, because they cut out the ones that I love the most in this show.
Well, so. I mean, he was at Driftmark.
He was.
I don't see us getting back to Driftmark before the end of the next 2 hours we're going to get.
Probably not. All right.
So, from there, we go to Dragonstone, correct?
With Damon?
Damon and Rhaenyra.
Syrax.
Yes, thank you. We get Syrax had a clutch of eggs, and Damon is basically pulling one of them out of the... what the hell would you call that?
I have no idea. Can we call it a clutch, maybe?
The clutch holder? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, I'm channeling my inner Sergeant Slaughter and want to say, like, the Cobra clutch or the camera clutch in the Iron Sheik's case. I just want to say clutch.
Yes, okay. The nest clutch of eggs, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I thought it was, like, funny. Like, he's talking with the dragon... I don't even... Herder? Master?
Yeah,
servant?
I don't know.
And the dude's, like, just repeating everything they say out to each other. I was like, you guys really probably haven't talked before, have you?
Yeah, not good people skills.
So he goes in and he goes to talk with Rhaenyra, and they find out that Corlys is dying, if not dead, and it apparently Vaemond is pursuing his intent to inherit Driftmark, which would call Rhaenyra's 2 children by Laenor succession into doubt, which would call their legitimacy into question, which would call her legitimacy into question, which would basically just be a bunch of bad stuff for that side of the Targaryen family.
Technically 3, right? 3?
Yes,
3?
yes, because I forgot. We get
Joffrey.
Joffrey's not old enough to really be hanging out, but he's a toddler and being called by name. We get probably for the next little bit what we're going to see would be the last incarnations of Luke, Jace, Baela, Rhaena, Aemond, Aegon, Hyacinth or whatever hell her name is. Helena. And who is I think that was it for the kids. Although we're to the point too where Rhaenyra and Daemon have had 2 additional children together, and one's on the way.
Wait, they've already had 2?
Yes.
All right, so they had Aegon.
They had Aegon and Viserys, right? And she's pregnant again.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes that poor kid just looking at Skeletor. Good stuff.
I think that scene's pretty cut and dry. I mean, I don't think there's really too much to go into.
I mean, quite frankly, the first third of the episode's just centering, it's very scenes centered around this whole legitimacy and this petition. I mean, there's probably 12 different scenes, but they are almost all entirely centered on this.
Well, not only that, but they're all straightforward.
Correct.
I mean, there's not like there's a ton of shit to unravel.
No. I mean, it was... So wait, when they arrived...
Yeah, I believe
Rhaenyra's pregnant, right?
Yes. I believe then we next go to them arriving, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they've arrived at the Red Keep in King's Landing, and no one is there to greet them at all.
Well, Lord Caswell.
And then Lord Caswell comes outside. Have we met Lord Caswell before? I don't think we have.
I don't recall writing his name down, so no?
No. Okay, so we get a brand new dude. It's the only person who comes out to say hi. And I guess, Rhaenyra recognizes him, and she seems to be, kind of relieved to see him, but, that's it. So they're not... I mean, they're unhappy, but I think they kind of expected that because they've known Viserys is sick. So then the next scene we get is them inside the Red Keep, remarking upon how most of the Targaryen heraldry and art and tapestries and knickknacks and their history has been removed from the walls and the rooms, and we now have a bunch of, I guess, heraldry? Iconography, maybe, because it's religious iconography for the 7 around everywhere.
And Daemon still doesn't want to see the tapestries.
Nope. He does not.
Or the drapes.
Daemon hasn't been offered to see the tapestries by Harrison Ford. So I mean that's yeah.
It is interesting, and I knew there was something different, but really, a lot of the stuff, like they even comment on it, but it didn't really click with me for a while as to what exactly was so different.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I couldn't tell if we had already seen that hallway before or if it was a different one, and they're just trying to remark in general. If they had shown us like one of the rooms that we had spent a lot of time in, like Viserys' room, or maybe like outside of Rhaenyra's hallway where we had a couple scenes and kind of shit, it would have made sense more. But it looks like a generic stairway, hallway kind of greeting chamber.
It looks like part of the damn castle or whatever. So it's kind of unremarkable in the sense that we don't have much to compare it to. So, like, for all their effort, the best thing we can pick up on is Alicent really is in on this whole 7 gods thing, which is, I guess, are they trying to represent that Viserys wasn't really into the Seven, or I don't really understand why the change.
Well, yeah, I would. The Seven were new gods. You know how they talk about the old gods and the new.
Yes.
So the Seven were the new gods. The old gods were the ones that like they worshipped in the north. Like thinking that the were trees were gods and stuff. But I mean, I think there were several Targaryens in the past who like thought themselves divine. So
that doesn't seem surprising at all.
Yeah. So I mean, I would imagine that, and I think there's parts in the book where it might have been their descendants. But like they basically had to go to war with religion in order to, beat them into submission.
Right. I mean, they didn't have the power that Cersei did to just shut that shit down.
Well, I mean, the only reason she shut it down was because she murdered everybody. But literally one of them, maybe Magar, actually went to war on the church and like physical war. Armies and shit going back and forth against each other.
Oh, well, that's fun. Is that all in this the book that this is based on? The
yes,
history?
Yes, but I don't remember if it was I think it's post this, because this is like Kings 5, 6, and 7 since the founding. I think.
Oh, okay.
And Daenerys would have been the 17th.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, and like I get that they've changed little bits and pieces in here. So yeah, whether or not this was something that actually happened in the book too, I don't know. I don't know if she became pious or if it was just a way to kind of more firmly entrench people's, separate the Targaryen from the ruling of the realm kind of shit. No idea.
Okay.
But so after we get that scene,
small council time.
Was it a small council? I didn't remember if it was
with our boy Lyman Beesbury.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second episode in a row where he actually got to say something. He
may be in my top 5 because he's just an old dude just rambling on, and is he the master of coin? I'm guessing, right?
I don't think so, because he was on it when Corlys was the master of coin, wasn't he? I don't remember.
No, he was. I don't know. Actually, you could be right.
I don't know.
Either way, he was talking a lot about money, so I'm going to call him the master of coin unofficially.
He's the master of rambling.
He's awesome. He really is.
He's like an Allman Brothers song. He's the rambling man.
Oh, we got references tonight.
Anyways, so we can definitely see that Otto has yanked a lot of the reins of state, and so has Alicent. But when one of the Kingsguard comes in and lets them know that the guests have arrived, and Otto's like, "Oh, did you greet them with all the appropriateness that they were supposed to receive?" Nobody. And he's like, "Yes, my Lord Hand." So.
Is it funny to you in some way that, like... So, I mean, technically, Alicent has... I don't even know who has more power between her or Otto, because I don't know who's more powerful. I guess it depends on what subject. But it's like, Alicent just really could care less, and Otto is just, like, all in at all times. Like, I want to be doing small council and doing business stuff at all times. It's just a very interesting. I
would say I think that for the most part, he probably defers to her in a lot of like shit when it doesn't matter. But like when push comes to shove, who's the one who sits on the throne in the king's absence? It's not her.
Yeah, I could see him being like, "Hey, be quiet. Men are talking here." I could totally see Otto being that dude.
To be completely honest, I think that's his whole fucking problem. Like, I don't think he ever intended to, rebel against Viserys or any of that shit. But, the fact that he's like, hey, dude put his daughter in charge and I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, Otto is...
So, hey, daughter, you need to go fuck the king, have some kids, and then we're going to take over. Run shit our way.
They're going to be the New World Order.
And then I can see him doing, like, the NWO chop.
Yes. All right. I know, I don't really think this is jumping ahead, but I just like the fact that there is a Sir Arik and a Sir Eric, and they're brothers.
Yes, and she knows the difference of them, even though she confuses it, and she apologizes. So, like, Allison, I'm kind of torn on her, because she might be one of the only nobles we've seen in this current incarnation who, like, appears to even give a shit about the common people.
Agreed, yes.
And yet, at the same time, she's willing to... I mean, we know they're going to go to war, over succession. So...
Right.
Yeah, I think... I think they've done a good job of making her a complex character.
Yeah, because there are times where I'm totally on her side, but yet then, they kind of put her on teams, I don't know, team bad guys that we're not necessarily rooting for, because I think we're supposed to be rooting for Rhaenyra, and especially Daemon.
I mean, she's not Cersei. I mean, let's make that fucking... I would say she's probably not even Caitlyn.
No, she's kind of caught in the middle of a shit sandwich in some ways, but then sometimes she chooses to be the bread.
Yeah, I mean, going berserk and slashing your daughter-in-law, in front of everybody.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened.
So, correct me, do we go from the small council to Aegon's chambers, or do we go from the small council to Viserys' chambers?
We go... Eric told her about the delicate situation in Aegon's room or apartment, but then we go to Viserys.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. And, alright, I just gotta say it outright. They did a fucking really, really good job on his makeup in this fucking episode.
Yeah, he looked like Skeletor. Like, they did so much awesome stuff to him. He just looked so bad.
Dude.
Really good job.
After seeing that, I would be like, fuck this. It's not good to be the king. Mel Brooks was lying.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Wow. You saw the holes in his back, holes in his cheek. I bet his dick fell off. Missing his eye.
The face, I do love the face mask, though. I really was into that. But, yeah, and I don't even, I mean, I guess they could just edit his body. I was wondering if they used a body double, or, I mean, because he was so thin here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it took them super long to film it, so I don't think they would have put him through the whole, hey, drop like 80 pounds of weight kind of thing.
No, I mean, you can do so much stuff post-production, and with poor lighting, you can make it look better, etc., etc. So, yeah, and you feel bad. I mean, the whole time, if nothing else this episode, you feel bad for Viserys. Even though he created a lot of this, I don't know, he's still so damn likable that, I don't know, I feel bad for him, don't you?
Yeah, he's, like he said, I mean, I don't know if he said it, but, he's basically the linchpin for this whole fucking family. And all he wants is his family to get along, and, like, the only thing that his family wants to do is not get along. They almost like they're Italian. I don't know. Yeah,
I would agree. It's... he knows that he's put his family first in some things. I don't know. It's got to be so mentally draining. And then the fact is, he's clearly slipping into some kind of dementia or something because he's seeing Allison as Rhaenyra and vice versa. That or his sight's really horrible, but I think it's more mental than sight.
I would say, I mean, he's probably definitely got reduced mental facilities, and whatnot, but he's also basically being given, like full strength fucking opium, multiple times a day. So, I mean, even if his mental facilities were still there completely, he's just so drugged up to deal with the pain that, he's not there. Even if he was able to be there.
Yeah. I liked in this scene Daemon was very, I don't want to say forceful, but like when Viserys was like, no, Alicent and Otto, they handle all the business now, and Daemon's like, no, you need to proclaim this,
I really, really, really enjoyed the interaction between Viserys and Rhaenyra and Viserys and Daemon in this episode. I think there were a couple scenes between the three of them, where they really solidified, it felt like they were family, not just actors pretending, but
I'm gonna really miss the interaction between Viserys and Daemon, because even when they were kind of against each other or very much against each other, like I still liked their kind of
it really reinforces what I said and thought earlier. Like, Daemon didn't want to be king; he just wanted his brother to fucking appreciate him.
Yeah.
If he could have been Hand, that would have been the number one thing for his brother. And bowing out made him feel better because he wasn't going to be used as a focus against Viserys. So those years when he was with what's the hell's her name?
Mysaria?
No.
Corlys?
Lena over in Pentos.
Pentos.
Even though he wasn't necessarily happy with her as he is with Rhaenyra, he was happy that he wasn't being used as a political opponent to his brother. And the only thing that would draw him back would be to help his family out. For as much as he appeared to be like a bad boy and still appears to be a bad boy, he's basically like a fucking family man.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of crafting that character, and he's very consistent, like incredibly consistent since the very first episode in many ways. Like, I don't know, I appreciate that his character, I mean, it evolved a little bit, but still very, very consistent, unlike, say, Rhaenyra when we first met her, or Alicent when we first met her.
Well, I mean, I would say it's less too that they're not consistent and more that, they were teenagers and now they're adults.
They're moms.
Who I was, when I was 15 is nowhere near who I am at 42, so.
I'm still the same OG.
Well, you're lucky that way, Kent. But I mean, so like we get some really touching stuff between Daemon and Viserys. We get, like, I love the scene where Rhaenyra finally is like, she's in there talking to her dad, and she's like, fight for me. I thought I wanted to be queen, but it's fucking tough. I don't know if I want to deal with all this shit, and I don't want my fucking family to be fucking murdered, because of it, kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, just some really good interactions, and yeah, like you said, once Patty's gone, which I'm pretty sure is this episode, it is. It's not going to be. We're going to be missing out on like a good portion of what made House of the Dragon so good in season 1.
One final thing I want to just say is I pointed this out before. I love when Viserys like sees Aegon and Viserys for the first time. Like, I just love the glee in his face when he gets to, like, watch his grandchildren. Like, every time that we got to see that, he had that same kind of joyful look to him. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine, like, do you remember the 90s version of it?
Yes.
Where they're like, come give Grandpa a kiss.
Yes.
And all the babies, no. So, I believe then we go to Aegon's room.
Yes. Yes, we do.
All right, yeah. I mean, he's no longer jerking out his window, but he still sleeps in the nude.
And look who's back.
No. We don't go to Aegon's room.
No. First we have
the interaction with what the hell was her name?
Talia.
Well,
girl Talia.
Yeah, Talia, and then
Diana.
Diana, or however they fucking pronounce it. Yeah. So apparently, in the 6 years, Aegon's gotten married, and he's also molesting the maids and the servants around the castle.
Yeah, he's just having a good go at it. Now he's married to Helena, right?
He is married to his sister Helena. So we basically get a scene where Alicent is talking to the servant who was molested, who apparently is the servant in charge of taking care of Aegon and Helena's children, because she was the one who was supposed to be getting them dressed for the meeting their family coming to visit. And we just get like a scene where we see the two sides of Alicent. Like, she's fucking heartbroken that her son is doing this, but she's not quite Cersei level of threatening this chick to keep it to herself. Pays her off with a huge bag of coins, and then forces her to drink the morning after tea in order to ensure that there's no complications from Aegon spilling his seed inside of her.
Yeah, I mean, and really, what's that girl going to do? Like, she can't be making any bank, right? So, like, of course, I mean, Alicent really didn't have to do a damn thing for her. Alicent could have just had her killed right then and there. Cersei probably would have considered.
I don't know. Cersei wouldn't have considered. She probably would have done it herself.
Done herself, right?
Yeah, like my Krista one when she was watching, she's like, I bet that's poison. I'm like, if it was Cersei, yeah, that would be poison.
Yeah, no, it was just another complexity to Alicent's character, which, was very good. The whole scene was good. I liked how Alicent's like, well, I mean, we don't want other people to know, as is. I already know. Eric knows. Talia knows. I don't know. I found Alicent enjoyable this episode.
I bet Larry's knows.
Oh, yeah, he knows.
And I bet, what was the name? The chick's name you said already?
Mysaria.
I bet she knows.
Well, we'll get to that, but I'm sure she knows.
Anyways, next we get to Aegon's room with... I don't know.
Alicent's super fly pissed.
What's up with, like, seeing a whole shitload of male Targaryen ass? Like, I think we've seen more Targaryen ass than we have any other house, I mean, between both series.
Yeah, you're right. Gosh, we haven't seen nearly as much nudity as we saw in Game of Thrones Season 1. And really, if you take away the whorehouse episode, it's been kind of minimal, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, we got a lot of whorehouses in Season 1 of Game of Thrones, so... I mean, shit, we got whorehouses in Winterfell, whorehouses in King's Landing.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So, again, we kind of get the idea that Aegon isn't malicious. He's just arrogant and spoiled.
But how can you be that arrogant and that spoiled with that haircut? That haircut is terrible.
Well, I mean, he's pulling it off so far, so...
Just awful. That's my only complaint.
Okay, so yeah, again, we see Alicent, like, at least, I don't know, she's kind of very casual about her son's nudity in front of her. I don't know. That seems a little weird to me for somebody who seems to be, like, this religious.
Yeah, but, I'm just going to walk in. Oh, my son's jerking off out the window. Oh, my son's a nude. Oh, my son's being a rapist. This is all, like, day-to-day shit that she just kind of swallows down deep inside until it boils over.
I mean, one of the biggest things I liked about the last scene was the dichotomy of, like, how she felt about Rhaenyra when she found that, the maester sent her the morning after tea. And then the fact that, like, she's forcing this maidservant who was just raped because of her son to go through the same kind of thing. Like, I think, what's her name? Olivia Cook did a really good job, in showing that on her face. We didn't get a lot of, like, subtle, like, glances between people, but we had a lot of, like, facial expressions in this episode doing that. So, okay. Where do we go next? Is this the scene where we go into the courtyard?
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to mention that she did slap Aegon and said, "You are no son of mine."
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't... He's like, oh, whatever I do will never be good enough. With that being said, now Alicent greets... I just put R&D. She greets Rhaenyra and Daemon.
R&D.
Research and development. That's right.
That's where all the money goes if you're really building up your tech tree.
Yep. So, this is the scene. Daemon's immediately into dick mode, which I applaud him every step of the way.
I love how fucking fast he is with just his quips in, like, every episode where people talk shit to him. And you mentioned this last week, too. Oh, yeah, does being religious mean you have to take down all of the Targaryen heraldry? You took down the tapestries you were going to show me?
I didn't even get to see him, God. So, yeah. I don't know. One thing I was curious about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In the scene with Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Viserys, Daemon seemed very intent on smelling what Viserys was drinking, and I'm sitting there thinking, wouldn't that have just been common procedure anyways back then to give milk of the poppy? Or was Daemon, like, trying to see if they were giving him something else? Like, well, he seemed very intent.
They're calling it tea. Like they're giving him medicine, and they are giving him medicine, but in effect they're also making it so he can't sit on the throne, when they need him to be there for them by giving him the milk of the poppy. Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's the difference between, like, oh, is this some kind of, like, herbal tea, or, oh, nope, you're giving him straight up fucking opium.
Fair enough. Well, then, there we go. I liked the line where Daemon's like, it says, it's an act of the purest mercy.
Okay.
And then,
yeah.
I don't know. Once again, everything that comes from him when he's in that mode is good. And then Rhaenyra is like, oh, who's going to be in charge of the judgment? It's like, do you really have to ask that?
I mean, are you just trying to state the obvious, Rhaenyra?
It really kind of felt like a completely unnecessary thing, because what kind of... what response was she hoping to get from that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it was rhetorical.
Yeah.
So is this the point we go to the courtyard with the kids?
Jason, Luke?
Yeah. So apparently, from what we see, Jace seems to be like a really good guy so far. Like, by all accounts, he seems to be probably the nicest one of the children of that generation. I don't know. We haven't gotten to see too much with Daemon and Lena's kids, but I think we can...
I don't know, Helena's up there, too.
Yeah, Helena's up there. She's definitely a little weird. But, yeah. And Luke, she seems a little more just, I don't know. he still seems young at this point, and I'm not like for a lot of what I was praising, people with like looks on their face, like half of the episode he's got a look on his face, and I just want to like fucking smack him to be like, they should have given you a couple more acting cues, kid.
For Luke?
Yes, for Luke.
Yeah. Something. Also, I feel like I think it was on the after the episode, they were like saying how old all the boys were, and they were like from any place from like 17 to 21. I'm like, no, Luke can't be 17, is he?
If he is, he's a fucking late bloomer.
I thought there was a greater discrepancy between Aegon to Luke as well, as far as age goes. And didn't it seem like it was more than 4 years difference?
Yeah, if you're talking about, that would be in real life. That wouldn't be in the show.
Yeah, no, in the after show, they were talking about it, and I swear, I think it was like one of the writers or whoever was like, yeah, we're showing the boys, and they're now like 17 to 21, and I'm like, no, there's a larger age gap amongst...
Yeah.
That's all. I found it weird that one of the people in charge doesn't know that.
Yeah, because Aegon was 6 and Aemond was 4 by the time Jace was born. Like, even before Jace was born, because Jace's parents hadn't even been married yet, and they were that old.
Right, okay. So I'm not crazy. I feel good now.
Yeah. So, you get... Jace is all, like, nostalgic about being home, where they grew up, and Luke's like, it doesn't feel like I remember it, and everybody's staring at us, it'd probably be better if we looked more like our cousin or our uncle. And then they look over, and Aemon is actually basically beating the shit out of Kristen in combat in the courtyard.
Now, was Crispin giving it to him, or was Crispin legit losing?
I have a feeling, he was probably, like, not giving it his all, because, what's going to happen if you fucking murder the prince by accident?
Yeah, I kind of took it the same way that he was kind of building up his confidence a little bit.
But, I mean, at the same time, I think he wasn't prepared for, when he gets the sword at his throat. Oh, we'll have you ready for tourneys in no time. I don't give a shit about tournaments.
Yeah. All right, so here's another question since I'm dwelling on age. Am I wrong in saying that Aemon looks much, not just a year or two, but much older than Aegon?
No. I mean,
no?
I don't think he looks older than him. I just think he looks fucking buffer than him.
See, I think he looks older in the face. I mean, and from a physical standpoint, body-wise.
Yeah, how much of it is, the eye patch?
I don't know. That was what I was really trying to figure out was it stature? Was it face? Was it eye patch? Was it scar?
See,
was it a combination?
I have a feeling it's because Aegon looks soft, because he's really the spoiled child, and Aemon, has a chip on his fucking shoulder, like a mile wide, and he's going to be hard no matter what. He's Daemon 2.0.
He's a hard-ass pterodactyl.
He does kind of have a thin face. I love the fact that, like, when they first showed the first couple scenes of the preview for this episode, I was like, why does Daemon have an iPad? I'm like, oh no, that's Aemon. They did a time jump again.
They really modeled him very similarly after Daemon. No doubt.
So then,
it was fun.
Go ahead. Then we get Vaemond finally showing up, and actually people being there to meet him, compared to the heir to the throne and her husband. And then, shit, where do we go from there?
Well, the gates open up, and suddenly there's Vaemond. And Aemond has a big smile on his face. And Vaemond stares down Luke, like, just stares him down pretty much. And then from there, we get Alice and Otto talking about Vaemond.
Yeah.
Vaemond.
Oh. Were they talking with him? Was that the next scene?
I based on the... Oh, Vaemond is a little pushy, so...
Yeah, that's the scene where they're talking about, going over the legitimacy tomorrow, and Vaemond's like, oh, yeah, whoever is the new heir to Driftmark will be in your debt, my queen. And do you want to give the navies of the realm, with a war coming against the Triarchy in the Stepstones, to a 12-year-old, or do you want to give it to a warrior who's distinguished himself in battle in the same area? I mean, that makes sense to me. That
yeah. And also, somebody that has Valyrian blood. That's also
yes,
kind of important.
Well, I mean, we know, but they don't know for 100% certain.
True. It's just, I don't know. The hair game tells everything. The hair game doesn't lie in this show.
Okay, I'll give you that. So is this when we go to Rhaenyra and Viserys talking?
No, this is the scene of the 3 rains. They're going to make it rain on us.
Yes, then we get making it rain.
So basically for my notes, I have Nyra, Nays.
Yeah, Rhaena leads Rhaenyra to go see Rhaenys, and this is where we find out that Baela's been her ward. Rhaenyra basically says, Rhaenys, I need your support, since, my dad's not going to be around to fucking back me, and, I had nothing to do with Laena's death, and I didn't know about it in advance. Just implying that her fucking husband did. I mean, she offers to marry, and I didn't know that this was going to happen, but, I guess I'm glad I guessed it. Baela and Rhaena to Jason Luke, and to solidify their houses that way. So Rhaenys' grandchildren will be both the Lords of Driftmark and the King and Queen of Westeros, as well as her side of the family. So, I mean, it's a win-win.
Plus, it's fun that Daemon's kids are going to be marrying his nieces / wife's. There's so much. This family tree, imagine just trying to do this family tree right now. How fun that would be.
It would look like an Ouroboros. But then she realizes that she thinks Rhaenys is going to put herself forward instead, and she's like, oh, I guess it doesn't matter then. And Rhaenys is like, yes, it's very true. What you said doesn't matter.
Yeah, she was like the Rock right there. It doesn't matter.
Do you smell what the RRR... You know what? I just watched RRR this week. That's a nice little segue there. Our cooking. Okay, so I believe this is when we go to Viserys and Rhaenyra.
Yeah, let me just say, I think that last scene in at least half the previous episodes possibly would have stolen the show. It was a very good scene. Rhaenys is very good when given more than a minute to be in a scene. She's excellent. And this scene, I don't know, I thought that scene was very good, but there's so many excellent scenes in this particular episode that it's a good scene, but it just doesn't stand out as much as it would have in other episodes, I think.
Yes.
And you are right.
And we've already gone over this scene. Rhaenyra is basically begging her dad to help her, saying, she didn't realize what it was going to be like, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the best scenes that the new Rhaenyra has done with Viserys, even though he isn't really super in it.
Well, that's the thing. She carries it, and she does a really good job with it. And this is where the seed was planted of the ice and fire, which we'll get to obviously later. But this is
she asked him, "Did you really see our family continuing in Aegon's dream in order to hold the land together?" But yeah, he's mostly incoherent and unconscious through it. So then we go to do we go to him? With the scene where we actually see like everything that's actually happened to his body.
Yes, like, I wrote that he's being operated on. He's not being operated on, but they are doing work on his body.
They're basically prepping him for the day. And Otto's there, and we just see, like, he's missing whole lumps out of his back. It looks like he's just rotting. Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, Otto wants more Poppy, and Vis says no, he just wants his dinner.
I want to see my family all together for dinner tonight, and I don't want the Poppy because I want to be able to be there. Be there for it.
Yeah, mentally be there. Yeah. So, this scene was just like I don't want to say a Frankenstein scene, but it was really interesting. Like, this may have been one of the best scenes that they filmed from a visual standpoint.
The fucking body horror was strong in that one.
It really was.
And then you got Patty just fucking killing it, like moaning in pain the entire time too. I mean,
this could not have been a fun episode for him to film, right? There's no way this was fun.
No, this is a lot of work. Between whatever physical changes they did, the makeup that they had to put him in probably took hours to do every day, and then most of it he's lying in bed, so yeah.
Like, was he sitting at home going, like, to his wife, hey, how's this groan sound? Versus this sound. Like, because he had to have practiced a little bit, I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, I would guess so. And she's probably like, how about number 3?
It's like an eye exam. Which one's better? Number 1, number 2? Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really, kudos to them for the makeup they did in this episode again. So I believe now we go to the throne room where we get a good portion of the rest of the episode.
Yep, time for the petitions to start, and we got Otto sitting on the throne, and we get Vaymond start kicking things off, I guess.
Yep, we get Vaymond begins to lay his issues, and all of a sudden, there's an interruption happens when Rhaenyra starts. She goes to interrupt him, and Alicent's like, "Yo, bitch, wait your fucking turn."
That's right.
And Otto does like a little like arms under his armpits pose when she says it, and then Rhaenyra begins to speak, and all of a sudden, everybody stops, and we look back, and King Viserys, with his golden mask that we see for the first time this episode, is hobbling forward on his cane. And it's like, Otto, I'm going to sit on the throne today. Peace out, buddy. And then we have one of the most painful scenes in the whole episode.
I first of all, I really liked Vaymond's reaction because we talk about the expressions and stuff. His face just drops like, motherfucker. Like, he knows, but yeah. Then we get the scene.
Buttered the wrong bread today. And so Viserys walks up to the throne, and it literally takes him 15 minutes.
The music's great the whole time, by the way. Some of the best music of this whole season.
And he finally gets to the point where the swords start, and he stumbles, and people are trying to help him, and he waves them off, and then he drops his crown, and Daemon goes over to help him, and he picks it up, and he's like, "Hey, just slow and steady, brother." Gets him up on the throne, and then he puts the crown back on his head, and again we get just a really great scene that was, I guess, improvised between Paddy Considine and Matt Smith. That really puts their whole relationship into perspective.
For me, that was the scene of the episode. It didn't choke me up or anything, but I got some feels out of that scene. It was really good.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that this episode between this scene and the next scene.
Yeah.
So basically, Viserys is like, I don't understand why we're even hearing petitions about something I settled fucking years ago. So what the fuck's going on? And Vaymond fucking finally just goes right out and says it, and he's like, those kids are fucking bastards! I'm the only true Valerian in here. And Viserys gets pissed. I mean, paraphrasing a long thing. Viserys gets pissed off, and he's like, I'll have your tongue for that. And before we can fucking get anything, badass fucking Master of Chaos Daemon slices his head off right in half, right over the tongue. And he's like, well, nope, you're not actually going to have his tongue for that. He can keep his tongue.
One thing we didn't say was that once Vis got on the throne, he had Rhaenys talk first.
Oh, yes.
And that's when Rhaenys like, yeah, I'm going to accept this marriage proposal. I don't know, it's just a small little thing.
Yeah.
Important.
My grandchildren are going to be marrying my great niece and nephew, and so it's going to be even more tangled web that we speak.
Yeah. Like, oh, God. And we also got, do not forget yourself, Vaemond. Like, can we every episode get somebody saying not to forget themselves? I don't know. That's becoming my favorite thing
we can ask them, but since Viserys is dead, probably not.
Yeah, somebody else is going to have to take that one up. I say Aemon should take up that line.
So we then go to dinner. And
no.
Where we go next?
We go to Vaemon's body being on the slab, and
yes.
is there in Orwell.
All right, yeah. So Vaemon's body's on the slab, and they're prepping him for his travel back to Driftmark, and Orwell is like, "Hey, you might. I mean, if you want to look away, go ahead." And she's like, "Oh, so many people have died around me and been taken from me that the stranger doesn't care if I look at dead people."
The stranger, is that implying the Grim Reaper, or
that's one of the 7 new gods?
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here imagining the Grim Reaper. Okay. Well, you burst my bubble. Thanks.
Yeah, they don't have the Grim Reaper in Westeros.
Not well. I mean,
that would be known.
I saw
as
Viserys. Okay, so
yeah.
I'm not sure we haven't.
Well, that's why they're not afraid of him, because they don't.
Very true.
Okay, so now we go to dinner, and it starts off uncomfortable. Just a little bit.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Did you ever watch WWF wrestling, say like in the very late 80s when like there was King Haku and King Macho Man?
No. No,
okay.
most of my 80s wrestling stuff was, like the Wrestling Buddies cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like all I could think of because they were carrying Viserys in, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is just like when they carried in Macho Man and Haku, but now my wrestling stuff is wasted, so I'll just shut up and let you go on.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry. So yeah, we get dinner starting, and we got an empty space between Alicent and Rhaenyra, and it's just very quiet, and everybody's being awkward, and then they carry Viserys in, and this is, I think, probably the scene where he kills it the most in this episode, because he's struggling to speak because he's so sick and tired, and he pulls his mask off and he shows his family like everything that's happened to him, and he's like, listen, we're a family. We have to stand against everybody else who wants to take us down. The rest of the world wants to fucking fuck us up. So we need to support each other and be there for each other. He's like, hey, my great nieces are marrying my grandchildren. Congratulations to all of them. Please make peace. That's a sum up, basically.
And then immediately is Aegon.
Well, we get an actual attempt between Rhaenyra and Alicent, I think. I think legitimate.
Let's see. Oh, Al does the prayer. Daemon does the smirk. Viserys happy about grandsons.
Yeah, Rhaenyra makes the toast to the queen.
You would think that would have been something I wrote down, but it's not. But you're right.
Yeah, so Rhaenyra makes the toast to the queen, and she's like, you know what? I love my dad, and nobody has taken more care of him than Alicent. She's done more for him. You know, she's seen him through all of this shit. So, you know, I'd apologize and attempt to bury the hatchet. You know, and Alicent isn't quite as warm to her, but she's like, you'll make a great queen. You know, I hope there can be peace between our houses. And, you know, so it seems like the adults are paying attention to what Viserys is saying. And then fucking, like you said, Aegon comes over and he's like, hey, Jace, you know, do you even know how to fuck?
Like, it was so... I don't want to say it was out of the blue. It was not... it wasn't out of character at all, but it was just such a funny...
And it wasn't, like, quiet either, you know? It's like... It wasn't like, hey, we're over at the kids' table, we got to be quiet. It's like, no. Like, hey, you know how to fuck? I'll teach you.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You know what? Hey, your betrothed, if you ever want to have, like, a real cock, just let me know. You know, and you can see that Jason's getting upset, and he wants to retaliate, but he doesn't sink to the lengths that, like, Aegon does.
No, he doesn't. Because I think he's trying to take what... A, he's trying to take what Viserys just said, and B, he also is aware that he's a bastard, and he kind of knows the consequences of coming unhinged. I am pretty sure he knows both those things. And Baela's by his side with her great hair.
Yeah, so I mean, he's happy he's going to get to hook up with, like, the best hair game left in Westeros. So I forgot what he actually said, but I mean, he's clapping Aegon and punching him in the shoulder the entire time that he's saying it.
The punching in the shoulder thing was like the best part. I don't know, that made me laugh a lot. I actually
we enjoyed that too.
We get another toast,
and then So then, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we get Helena's toast?
We get a toast to Prince Luke as Lord of the Tides. Rhaena assures Luke that he will do great. Aegon's still going on. Vis is happy, filled with sorrow to see faces around the table that grew so distant. As we said, he removes the faceplate. I think this was the first time we saw that he didn't have an eye. Like, I think this is the very first time we get that full visual.
Yeah, the full time we see that he's not only is he missing an eye, his cheek is basically rotted out, and they did a good job of, like, showing the sinews that are still attached.
His line, my own face is no longer a handsome one, if it ever was. It was kind of like a good, charming little line, but, you know, and then he does the "Tonight I wish you to see me as I really am," and that it really reminded me of Twilight Zone, the one with the 4 masks. Probably a reference that most people aren't going to get. That's okay. But that was what I got out of it. And right here, I think Alicent really... I do feel that Alicent was taking it to heart here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think she was quite as, you know, as willing to mend it as Rhaenyra, but I think, you know, she was, you know, willing to mend it. Yeah. To the point where Daemon wasn't even doing his smirk. That's how serious this was. Yeah. This was like the only like serious situation, and Daemon wasn't smirking. I was like, wow, okay. This is actually where the toast happened. So then Al's like, yeah, we're both mothers, blah 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 blah. Al raises her cup to Rhaen being a fine queen. Otto is staring kind of angrily at Otto is definitely the least happy person in the whole fucking room for this entire thing.
He apologized to Baela for the disappointment that she is soon to suffer. That was a great, great line. So then Jace offered a cheers to Aegon and Aemond. He's trying to be cordial, and Aegon's just like, yeah, to you as well. And then Helena does her toast, which
is probably the funniest thing in the fucking episode, really, to be honest. You know,
yes,
marriage isn't so bad. Most of the time, he just won't pay any attention to you, and then when he comes, it's over quickly. So.
Yeah, sometimes when he's drunk. And that was her contribution to the whole episode. It was magnificent. I mean, in case you can't figure it out, that's my award winner for this week.
So then basically we're having everybody get along, and then we go to, unfortunately, like this.
Some good music.
This is an example of Jace pulling a Rhaenyra when they're already ahead, and he gets up and he's like, "Oh, Helena, why don't you?" He's like, "Bela, can I?" And she gives him permission. He goes over and gets Helena and starts to dance with her because her husband and brother is ignoring her. And then we see that, at this point, Aemon's like, all right, I haven't been a force for chaos enough in this fucking episode yet. So, time for me to enter the fray. And he gets...
Viserys gets taken out here,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah, he gets taken out after calling for the music. And they do a slow thing where you, almost think he's going to die during the dinner.
Because I even wrote, right, is this where Vis dies his last supper, and then he's taken out, and we get two servants with the pig coming in, which
causes...
You think that's the pig?
No.
The pig?
It's way too small.
Aw.
But because of that, between the Helena thing and then Luke laughing at him, Aemon's like, you know what? Let's take this shit to 11.
Oh my god, yeah.
And he gets up and he's like, I want to toast my two nephews. They're smart,
handsome, wise,
and strong.
Yep, strong. He did it subtly the first, but then he really goes into it the second time.
Because Alicent's like, Aemon, stop. And he's like, strong. No. Strong, Mom. They're strong.
Yeah, come on. Can you just see how muscular they are? They're super strong. That was a heel promo if I ever saw one. It was fantastic.
Does he? I forgot. Did he get smacked by Jace at that point?
Jace punches Aemon. Luke and Aegon go at it. The guards break it up. And Al is super fly pissed at Aemon because she was just in the middle of her feelings and things almost seemed to be peaceful.
And, it looks like shit's going to break out, and then Daemon just walks up and he's like, listen, you guys can talk a bunch of shit, but who's the only one who takes heads in this fucking room right now?
That's right.
Yeah. Two big thumbs pointing at me.
That guy.
So, yeah, and this is where I really bought it that Alicent and Rhaenyra were thinking about actually reconciling. Because Rhaenyra's like, I should go back to to Dragonstone because these guys are being fucking dicks. And Alicent's like, no, stay. And she's like, let me take the kids back so they'll stop fighting, and I'll fly back on Dragonback to hang out with you. We can, maybe have some midnight cuddles like we used to. I'm just throwing that in there.
She's bringing Dragon back.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that in there, but that's I'm sure there's no fan fiction or anything about that kind of shit going down.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's basically the end of that scene.
And then comes the scene that I was waiting for.
Which scene?
We see somebody in a cloak outside walking.
Oh, yeah.
And there's Mysaria, who, anybody that's been listening knows that I'm hell-bent on believing that Mysaria is going to play a big role in this.
Well, I have to bow my head and say, you were right, and I was wrong.
And I also happen to say that Talia may not be just a side person. She may be, but you know what? It was nice to see two people that I've been going bet for in the same scene. So this was my high point as far as a moral goes, a moral victory for me. And all that says, has been quite a night at the castle, it seems. So, I know we're almost at the end, but really, what implications are going on here? In your mind, Mysaria clearly has her spies, so to speak. What is this information? What is she going to use it for moving forward, do you think?
I have no idea.
See, I think she's still going to side with Damon. So I think because she knows that Aegon's just going around knocking up bitches, I don't know, somehow something like that's going to get involved.
You think she's still going to side with Damon when the only person that she's really been pissed at out of everybody there is Damon?
Yeah, but she also took care of him that night that he got tanked.
No, she let him sleep in the place, but, I mean, she's also reported that that shit happened to Otto in the first place.
I agree. Hey, it's just a theory, and I'm going to just keep going with theories here with my Saria until I'm wrong. Which will probably be next week.
No, it'll probably be like 2 weeks.
Maybe.
But, yeah, so, like, and I'll say for Talia, and, like, if they're giving a servant a name, and she's sticking around for multiple episodes, yeah, she's going to end up being a character. Whether, you know, it's just as minor as that kind of scene shit, or if she's going to become something a little more major, you know.
Do you think there's any possibility that they try to, maybe Talia intentionally tries to get impregnated?
Talia?
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, if she's that much older than, you know, whatever the hell Daniela or whatever her name was, you know, Aegon's probably not even looking at her because shit, she wasn't one of the fucking nurses when they were kids.
She was.
So
they could be the MILFs. Well, I mean, she wouldn't be a MILF, but same thing. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know.
Was MILF porn a thing in Westeros?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, incestual MILF porn was. So, I mean,
yeah.
And this is just going, you know, like off the deep end.
No, I could make this worse. I just thought of like a porn mag shoot where, you know, they have the girl like on the dragon, and that's like the big scene in the photo shoot. So yeah, there. I just taken it in a place that it shouldn't have gone.
Paint me like one of your dragon girls, Jack.
All right, let's go to the sad scene.
So we basically go to the last scene in the episode, and Viserys is in his bed, and he's moaning, and Alicent is going to put him to sleep. And I think she does give him milk of the poppy, correct? She does.
Yes.
And as she's giving it to him, he's, again, you know, whether or not he's actually losing it, or he's just, you know, like through dementia, or just drugged up, or just out of his mind with pain, or whatever. He confuses her for Rhaenyra, and he's like, yes, I did have that dream. It is a real dream. You know, Aegon needs to unify the country, or Aegon unified the country in order to save it from the threat from the north.
And the prince that was promised.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, Alicent gets all of this out of context, and, you know, she's like, no, oh, okay, well, my husband, who was standing up for his daughter and his grandkids every day for like the last 30 years, is now telling me it's okay to go ahead and murder them because my son, who winks it out the window, has to unify the nation. Never minding that, you know, Rhaenyra and Daemon literally just had another boy named Aegon. So
this is the thing that may irk me the most about this episode, is how quickly Alicent went from a very level-headed person for most of this episode to suddenly like, oh, I have a husband on his deathbed who's high as hell, and he's just rambling on about stuff. I'm going to take this as, you know, quote-unquote, the gospel. Suddenly, like, no, come on.
I mean, let's wait and see what actually happens at the beginning of that next episode. You know, whether she's gone right from, you know, where she was at the end of dinner to time to make war upon Rhaenyra, or, you know, if it's some shit that, like, her dad coerces her into. Yeah, I think that would be more...
Or the boys get into another fight.
I think that would be much more in character than, you know, just going from like, apologetic to a straight-up heel turn, you know, within minutes.
I could see her revealing to her father what was said, and him being like, all right, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, then his last words were "my love."
And then, we get a really uncomfortable, minute and a half of, Viserys just, moaning. And not, the sexy moaning, but, painful moaning.
I hope they only had to film him doing that, once or twice, because that could not have been fun to film.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at the cast list. It says Sir Tywin Lannister. Was he in this episode?
Yes, because he's on the small council.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
He was the one who brought up, well, do we really, with the war going on, do we really want to give a bunch of ships into a 12-year-old's hand?
Right, okay, yeah. And yeah, just in case you weren't 100% sure, they said, in the preview for next week, the king is dead. Those are the very first, 4 words out of the preview. So, he dead.
Well, he did a really killer job for the role that he was given. So, kudos to him. He gets my MVP for season 1.
Yeah. Gosh, him or Daemon. It depends on what Daemon does the next 2 episodes. I'm not sure, because Viserys is probably ahead of him, but if Daemon has a strong couple weeks...
Well, Daemon had the ability to be the bad boy going in and the warrior and everything, and Viserys had to do the job of making, which we haven't seen before, like we've mentioned in episode 3, of making the king likable, and making it seem like people actually enjoyed his rule rather than just. Yeah,
I'm curious if he's the last king that was actually beloved or not.
From what I understand, there were 2 or 3 more, but yeah, Aegon follows Aegon. And the people love Rhaenyra's son, but the nobility didn't. So that's where a lot of the shit, leading up to the Mad King, comes into play.
Now, I just want to throw out there, in the preview for next week, we get some dude, I'm assuming a dude, looks like a knight, and Otto says something like, "None can know who you are or what you seek." So Otto's already up in his game more.
Well, thanks again for ruining it for me, Kent.
Also, Larys is in next week.
Yeah,
and he has useful.
I was
info.
gonna say, if we didn't see Larys this week, he's gonna definitely have a much bigger part next week.
And there's also what appeared to be a fighting pit of some kind, and also there is treason, because treason seems to be a word used in the past, 4 episodes?
Yeah, yep.
So, Mystery Knight, fight pit, Larys, treason, I don't know. Everything sounds pretty interesting.
Yes. Well, they need to, because this is the penultimate episode, and they always do. I don't think did outside of the last season, did they have a bad season ending episode in a single one of them in Game of Thrones?
The season finale,
the season finale.
I don't think the season finales were that bad. No,
I think they were all awesome. We had Jon Snow dying, season 1's ending,
there might be one. I don't know if it was a season ender. When Brienne supposedly killed the Hound, if that was a season ender, I didn't like that episode.
Well, go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding. No, I really think season 6's ending was one of the best in the whole show. That was the one where Cersei blew up the church.
So, which one was it end of season 5 or 6 for the watch?
Season 5.
That one was incredible, because that left fans really wondering.
Yeah, it's basically where we were at in the books too. So we still don't know what the fuck's going to happen. In the books.
And was it maybe the end of season 4 where Arya sets off on her new adventure to find Jaqen?
And I believe that was the one that you were talking about where Brienne appeared to kill the Hound. Because we didn't see him for a season or a half.
God, that pissed me off.
But yeah, for the most part, I think they did we had the Red Wedding was the season 3 finale. The season 1 finale was basically setting up what was going to be happening in season 2. Season 2 was the Battle of Blackwater Bay. Season 4 was probably the weakest. That was, like you said, the one where, well, no, because, well, yeah, that was basically when we had, Stannis show up, wasn't it?
That would make some sense to me.
And then season 5, we had, Jon's death. Season 6 was, Cersei clipping the cast by about a third.
Yeah, she cut the budget significantly.
Season 7, we got Jon and Dany getting together, and then season 8.
Was season 6, the episode 9, was that the Battle of the Bastards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, overall, I thought this was a fucking really good episode. I don't know if I would say that it was the best one so far, but I liked it, like everything in it.
So, I would say this is somewhere in my top 3. I still got the 5th episode as my favorite, and I thought last week's episode was great. And I'm also going to share with people what I discovered. If you go and rewatch the scene with the kids fighting, and then get, like, on your phone, get Lil Jon's Get Out of Your Mind queued up and play that, you will have an amazing music video. So, I don't know, it's tough for me to say this week was better than last week or vice versa. They were both very good for their own reasons.
I would have to say, though, I think 5, 7, and 8, probably the best episodes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they started strong, especially the first episode was really good. We had that dip in quality on episode, was it 3 or 4? That just wasn't.
And 6 was the one that it felt like they kind of like dropped a bunch of threads from 5.
Yes, that was really the biggest downfall of 6. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it felt weak, especially now that we see it compounded in between 5, 7, and 8. Yeah, it's going to come off weak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you know more of what's to come. I'm assuming that. So we know there's going to be like a civil war of sorts. During this period of civil war, do we know, like, all right, now that King's dead, Rhaenyra should immediately step in as the ruler. Is that how that would go?
Yes, that's how that should go.
Okay. And yet we also know that this show would be boring if that was just the end of it. So at some point, legitimacy, blah, blah, blah. Or how do we go from Rhaenyra ruling to Aegon ruling? How does that really... Do you have an answer for that? Do you actually know or no?
Which Aegon?
We'll say Alicent's Aegon.
Okay, well, Alicent, they declare war. They say, nope. Aegon's I don't know what is the actual cause for it to happen.
Okay.
But they declare war and declaim him the king. And, since they're already sitting in King's Landing, they probably are in a pretty good spot to be defending.
Gotcha. Okay. I could see them having, like, a little bit of a war in this next episode, but I think they would have to really escalate things super fast for that to happen. And it didn't seem that way in the preview. So I'm guessing that there's really no reason for us to have a big war yet.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
Just keep building on what you have here for the next 2 episodes and make people really want season 2. I think that's the best you can do right now.
That's basically what we're going to get.
And in some way, try to make sure that they got to do something with Jace and Luke, because right now, I don't care about either of them. I don't care about their characters. Like, I I sympathize with them. I mean, it's not their fault who their father was, but simultaneously, they haven't really given them much of anything. Like, at least Aegon and Aemon both have, like, a personality that we can, look forward to.
You just like the bad boys, Kent. Admit it.
Huh. You bring up a valid point.
I mean, you're also the person who roots for the killers in horror movies instead of the victims, so...
Sad but true. I'm trying to think of like a time where I cheer on. So, like in the Cube movies, for example, I usually try to find one character that I want to like escape.
But those are less about. Yes, there's a malevolent corporation, but those are less about like an active antagonist and more about like just surviving a horrific situation.
True. All right, I cheer on Officer Dewey instead of Ghostface.
Did you watch the last Scream yet?
No, it's on Paramount?
It is. Yes. Paramount.
Paramount,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to just do the 7-day free trial and get whatever I need from Paramount.
You know what? Let me
out of the way.
Oh, let's not talk about that on the podcast. Anyways, well, to segue from House of Dragons into horror, well, you asked me if I was going to catch up on Prey, the new Predator movie, because you were planning on doing it for October, and then you almost made it. But I've got a few opinions on it. Nothing too major. But you said you watched about the first half, right? Where did you actually cut off?
The bear just got.
Okay. I thought it was really good. It was. I don't know. I know a lot of people put Predator 1 up on like a pinnacle. They're like, I love the Predator as a concept and the actual alien, the Yautja, or whatever you want to call it. But like, as much as I love like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers and shit, that's really not a strong movie. Like, the script is fucking weak as hell. And not even the script. The performances are weak as hell in that movie.
It's a cheesy 80s action film. It's pure 100% testosterone at its 80s finest. It doesn't mean that it's a good script. It doesn't mean that it's well acted. It's just fun as hell.
Just to go into that, though, I mean, that's why I prefer Predator 2 to Predator 1. But I like them both.
This is why everybody listening right now is shaking their head no. I know you are, people listening. Shake your head.
You know what? Well, if Chris Stuckman listens to me, he agrees with me. Anyways.
All right.
Anyways, I liked the script, and the performance is better. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know like a lot of people love to see like Jesse Ventura. Was that his first role? Acting?
Oh gosh, it was definitely his most well known, and I don't know if he really did much acting other than that. Did he?
Well, he did Running Man after that.
Ventura?
Didn't he do Running Man? Wasn't he the announcer who was like, it's like, I'm the one who's going to kill them without all this fucking armor shit.
You're right. So, I mean, basically, he knew to just ride Schwarzenegger's coat.
But, I mean, call. Like you said, it's in very 80s, like the scene where they're shooting into the jungle and everybody's holding their guns at, like, their waists, nobody's actually looking down any of the sights or, Right. Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, and like I said, it came up with one of the, really coolest concepts in, horror science fiction. I liked what they did to build off of it in Predator 2 more than I liked the original.
In some way, probably Predator 1 is, well, if we discount Aliens vs. Predators, because I just don't want to go there, the other films probably actually had better stories and scripts and stuff.
Not The Predator.
Is that the
yes.
like 2018 one? Or
yes.
That one had such a great cast and was such a letdown.
Yep. I would agree.
Before that was Predators. Right?
Yeah, and that one was okay. it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. You know, like AVP was okay. The thing holding the first one back was the PG-13 rating. You know, if they had gone for an R like they should have, you know, I think it would have actually been decent, because, you know, the guy who directed it, you know, he's not great at but he makes entertaining movies.
Yeah, I had some issues with the final third of that movie, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, running up on the surface of Antarctica with, you know, like, no winter gear and holding, like, an alien skull for a shield and a tail for... Yeah, I mean... Anyways.
Right.
Way better than Requiem, although, you know, they up the gore in that one, and, you know, the violence.
They tried to overcompensate, but instead, like, if they could have combined the gore and violence from Requiem with some of the ideas from the first one, you could have had a pretty damn good movie.
Oh, yeah. I would 100% agree. Like, if they had merged those two things into one movie, shaken it up, you know, looked in the magic cue ball and said, if we separate it, it's going to be murky, but if we combine it and get a better writer, it'll be good. I would agree with that.
Agreed. Yeah.
So anyways, to get to Prey, you know, I watched a lot of reviews, and a lot of people said they liked it. It was better than what they expected, but a lot of people were also up in arms. They're like, you know, this is definitely like a girl power movie. And I have to say, you know, after watching it, I would think, you know, like, Nada is, you know, basically just about as far from a Mary Sue as you can get. You know, I don't think she's anywhere near like an Ellen Ripley or a Sarah Connor kind of role. But, I mean, you know, there are whole scenes of her, like, fucking failing at, like, everything that she's trying to do. You know, there's montages of her practicing and training and trying to get good at what she wants to do, you know, be a hunter. So, I mean, yeah, the fact that she's a hunter and she's a great tracker and she knows medicine, yeah, she's good at a lot of things. But it shows you that, like, she goes in to do the effort to get good at these things. It's not like she just wakes up one day and she's a fucking Jedi. Better than, you know, every Jedi who's still practicing the Force in the galaxy kind of shit.
She's definitely not the to go with the girl power thing, I think, because I talked to my friend before we did this, and I was just like, yeah, I got like halfway through Prey. I'm like, I think the lead is awesome, and I really do. I find her a very good actress. I like what they're doing with it, but I hate, and this is a problem more so with horror movies, although I understand given the timeline, etc. But it's like, I hate so often in horror movies when they have the female character that is just kind of like talked down or ignored, like her male counterparts, like, hey, quiet, men are talking here. And then, you know, she's the one that's, you know, ends up being right all along. Like, I don't know if that's how this exactly plays out, but we've seen enough horror where, like, that happens. I'm like, just stop with that. Like, can't we just have, like, you know, both sexes be right every once in a while? Why is it always got to be the girl? Like,
I mean, I don't think it is. Like, just finish watching it and let me know if you think it is still. But, you know, like, I did. I watched most of it last night, and then I finished up the last 15 minutes this morning when I got home from work. And, you know, the guy who relieved me this morning was talking. He's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, you know, I'm watching Prey. You know, the last Predator." And he's like, and he was just like, "Dude, you know, I just couldn't buy into it that it was a girl, you know, doing this. It should have just been guy." And I was like, you know, no, I disagree, because, like, they went out of their way to show, and like I said, you know, that there's a scene where she's trying to hunt, you know, a deer at the beginning, and she fails, you know, completely. And then there's another scene where she's trying to hunt rat, you know, and she's not even hunting by shooting a bow. She's hunting by, like, trying to throw her tomahawk at him. And then, you know, she's like, oh, you know, she strips down, you know, a bunch of cord and weaves a rope out of, you know, like, plant fibers and ties it to the tomahawk, and then she sits and practice with it for like, it shows, like a couple minutes in the movie, but, the equivalent of several hours, if nothing else.
They should have been playing the best around, though. You know that they should have, because that's what that scene. That was my favorite scene so far. By the way, was her just doing like the scorpion, go over here, back and forth, back and forth. I loved that scene so much.
And I mean, and the other thing that I really liked about it was, like, this was a stupid predator.
Oh God, yeah.
Like this dude is getting fucked up by like a coyote. I mean, what the fuck?
The bear gave him the business. The coyote gave him the business. I'm like, all right, this is not...
So.
This was like 17, 19.
Yes. Yeah. So, to add on to that, when she finally actually kills him, and she actually doesn't kill him, but you'll see that at the end. He's already had the shit kicked out of him like 100 different ways, and it's not like she's fighting him and overpowering him, or like using martial arts to, spin him and throw him and shit. Like she jumps onto him off of a tree and stabs him a bunch of times, but as soon as he grabs her, he just fucking chucks her. It's like not even a contest.
So she doesn't even sweep the leg. That's a shame.
No, she would try, and it would just be like thunk.
Whenever I hear the word thunk, all I can hear is Tyrion telling that story of whoever.
So, my basic takeaway was it was pretty good. I would probably, I know our rating schemes are different, but I'd probably give it like a B+, upper 80s, depending upon what kind of, rating scale you're going off of. But what it got me most excited was that they said that they were interested in doing this kind of premise in different situations, not like a Prey 2, but like, okay, what if we did like a Predator in, like feudal Japan, so you had ninjas and samurais versus the Predator, or, so yeah, I think that would be fucking really interesting, those kind of ideas. So, yeah.
One thing I want to say about the lead character, I found her, so far, once again, I'm only halfway through, I find her so much more believable than the, final girl in Alien versus Predator. I think that's a good thing. Like, she's earned it, at the very least. Like, she's worked her ass off, which, we didn't get that in Alien versus Predator. We just didn't.
And one thing I will say, though, and I don't know if this was just because I was watching it on the mobile app on Hulu, but I do remember that when they were filming it, they filmed it all in, I forgot what the language is called, but the Apache language, or the Comanche, whichever tribe, Comanche tribe, the Comanche language, and they said they were going to release it, with subtitles, and so, for the most case, when I'm watching a movie with a foreign language, I'd prefer to watch it with subtitles, especially if it's something where like the dialogue isn't going to be as important as it would be in something like House of the Dragon. So you just get the more realistic, takes usually, because it's the person speaking their native language typically. And yet when I went to watch it, they didn't have that option at all, and it was just in English. So
that was what I was going to ask is, do we know if there's like a DVD Blu-ray release of...
What I'm wondering is, I think they did a theatrical release, so I'm wondering if they did that for the theatrical release, and then this was like, oh, well, people who watch Hulu are stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, I would have liked it in the native language, quite frankly, because I'll watch stuff in English with subtitles, because my hearing just isn't what it used to be, and I watch a lot of stuff late at night, and I can't be too loud because I have neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff I watch when I'm at work, I only have one earbud in, so I can hear what's going on at work. So yeah, there's subtitles there. And again, I'm doing this with you, and it's midnight my time, and I'll be up for another 6 to 9 hours. So a lot of the stuff that I watch without my wife and my son, I either have headphones on or I have to keep it down so low that, subtitles really help. So I don't mind watching shit with subtitles. And again, it's usually just better to listen to it in the actual language, which was one of the things I really liked about 30 Coins on HBO, is that, they filmed the Spanish portions in Spanish, but every time they transitioned to do a different language, they actually spoke that language, rather than like some movies do where, like it'll all be in English and then, like the German will be in German, but they'll subtitle, but, that'll be the only language that they speak,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And it was, you can definitely tell it was the same actor doing, speaking multiple languages as well, so.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I will finish it. So far, I have no complaints. I have no idea where I'm expecting rating-wise to go, but I don't see me giving it a negative review, and for me, that's half the battle right there.
There were a bunch of really cool set pieces, and all of the really cool set pieces are the shit you haven't seen yet.
Fair enough. What this reminded me of in some way is I kept sitting there going, this is everything I wish the film Mohawk would have been.
I never saw it, so I couldn't compare. But
I think it's on my Vudu from those.
It kind of reminded me. Do you remember that movie Outlander with Jim Caviezel?
I never saw it.
It reminded me of a good version of that.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'll get through it, and I'm mad that I didn't spend the extra $6 to have ad-free for the month, but there's not a lot of stuff on Hulu that I really care to watch, film-wise. To the point, this is where it got to the point where I was like, I really want to see The Cursed. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on Hulu, but it was on sale for $5. I'm like, so I could spend the $6 to get ad-free for the month, or I could own this movie that could potentially be kick-ass. So I bought the movie instead.
No, we do the package. So, it was only an extra $3, I think, a month to pick up, Disney Plus and ESPN. So.
Yeah, I got the bundle. I just got the cheaper variation of the bundle.
So, my wife was already doing the ad-free Hulu, so she, adding the extra on wasn't that much more than what the ad-free Hulu was. And we don't watch Hulu a lot for, the movies. We use it more for TV. Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Not too much. She watches it all the time. But, for me, the big one right now besides this kind of shit is Archer. That's the only thing I can watch it on without getting the FX fucking app.
Right.
Anyways, we got 2 weeks left of House of the Dragon. And in about 2 weeks, we're going to be doing, our time from now, we're going to be doing our Halloween tribute to the Brendan Fraser Mummy franchise. And after that, I have no idea what we got on our plate.
Well, I have some ideas, but I would like to quickly go over... I've seen 6 movies since we talked, but realistically, it's going to be a conversation of basically 3 films.
Okay.
So last time when we talked, I told you I was watching Black as Night and then didn't finish it because we had to do the podcast. And I wasn't too high on the film, but I wasn't too down on it. I finished it. It has Keith David in it.
That was the Urban Vampire one, right?
Yeah, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, it's kind of Buffy, it's kind of Goosebumps, but then they go with the harsh language and the violence, and I'm not sure... I don't even know if they knew exactly what they were going for, but they did it. I found it enjoyable. I don't really see any reason why people would hate it. I could see people thinking it's too cheesy, but it was 90 minutes long. It's on Amazon Prime. And if you like Keith David like I do, I would say give it a shot. I think I would watch it again, honestly.
Yeah, I know it's beautiful, but I didn't take it out just for you to look at it.
That's right. After that, I watched Ma with, I think her name's Octavia Spencer.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing the trailers for that when it came out, and it looked interesting.
Honestly, I thought it looked stupid. I was like, I can't wait to watch this and make fun of the movie. And then, I looked at the cast, and Juliette Lewis is in it, and I always like her. She doesn't have a huge role, but she's the mom of the main female character. And this movie really wasn't that bad. Like, I expected it to be like a 3 out of 9.2, and I think I gave it like a mid to high 5. Like, I would watch it again. Octavia does a great job as the crazy girl that got picked on in high school and wants to try to be cool again, but realizes, kids are kids. They're still just dicks. And then she just loses her shit. And it kind of spirals, as you would imagine. And I don't know. I think the strong acting helped it a lot.
Yeah, she's a great actress. So, I mean, that right there probably gives you at least a point.
Yeah, and Allison Janney is in it, but she has like 3 small scenes, but I still like her and Mom, so I was happy to see her. Yeah, I don't know. If the trailer remotely intrigued you, I would say give it a shot. If it doesn't look anything good that you want to see, I would say just skip it. I think that's fair.
Would you watch it on? Because, that was one that I thought looked good, but...
I watch on Vudu.
Oh, okay. Anyways, moving on. What's your next one?
The last thing that I got to talk about is the Poltergeist franchise, which sounds like I'm going to talk about a lot, but quite frankly, I didn't like 2 or 3. But we are on the 40th anniversary of Poltergeist. I didn't know it was 40 years.
God, that makes me feel so fucking old. Jesus.
So I knew that Spielberg was involved. I knew Toby Hooper directed it, and I didn't I did a lot of reading because the curse. I already knew about the curse. Blah blah blah. But there's people on set argue whether Spielberg or Toby was in charge, and to watch it, you could see both of their influences, and I think that's part of what makes it kind of a masterpiece. It still holds up. It honestly, the special effects, they aren't great. They're from 1982. But it's fun, and the acting's not bad. I don't know. It's still a classic to me. And then, you go to 2, and here's my biggest issue. Is that 2 basically is the ending to part 1 and how basically is because they were over a cemetery, they built all the houses. Well, here's the thing. There was a cult, a doomsday cult, and we're going to have this guy be the antagonist in part 2 and 3. Totally lost.
I do remember... Wasn't the Beast kind of cool looking, though? It was
The Beast was cool looking, yes.
Because, 2 was the one that was on... HBO when I was growing up and watching HBO. Yeah,
right.
1 came out when I was 2.5, and then 2 I was 5 or 6. It was the same kind of thing. Jaws 1 and Jaws 2 were out, but Jaws 3 was the one I remember watching the most from being a kid because that was the one that was on HBO at the time. When I was going through and watching it. I do remember 3 kind of being shitty though, but I don't really remember them. And from what I understand, if I cut you off, I'm sorry. The remake was it was okay. It wasn't. It could have been done without.
All right. So the remake, they switched all the character names. So a lot of people say Sam Rockwell is wasted as a talent. And I'll say this. I don't know if the role was written for him or not. It feels like the role was written for him, or maybe they got him on. They're like, all right, we got to rewrite this guy's role. But he did Sam Rockwell things. The mom was kind of funny at times. The little girl, she was really good. They gave the older sister a little bit more to work with. The special effects, although good... I don't know, 40 years later, I don't know. I don't know really what I expected, but, I mean, the 1982 effects still worked well for me. It's not a bad reboot, though. The movie got a shitload of negative reviews.
Yeah, it's like if you try to reboot a 9 movie and you make a 7. You know, it's a 7 isn't a bad movie by itself, but when you compare it to the original.
Right. And I guess that's kind of where this lies to me. Like, if I say Poltergeist is a 7.5, and I say the reboot's a 6, yeah, of course it didn't live up to the original, but that's okay because there was, a full generation and a half that may not have ever seen the original, and they could have enjoyed this, and you could spend your time much worse than watching.
I mean, think of how often it was used as references in other movies and entertainment and shit, and, they're kids growing up who never fucking understand where they're here came from, kind of shit.
Yeah. And Zelda Rubinstein, the short lady from the original, she's in all the original 3. She's fantastic, and they replaced her with this guy that you probably have seen in something else. I don't know if he's Irish. I can't remember what, but he's kind of like one of those ghost hunter guys that has a reality show, and they kind of insert him instead of the paranormal psychic that Zelda was. So they tried something new because they knew they couldn't copy it.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't have many gripes or complaints there. One final thing I would like to do, just because I don't know why we haven't been doing this all along, and this will just take a couple minutes. I have this game called Slash Cards. I've had it for years now. I played it one night. I was tanked. I thought the questions were hard. I looked at them again. The questions aren't so bad. So there's 5 questions. I won't read you 5 questions and see how you do.
Oh, thanks for putting me on the spot, Kent. Awesome.
Yep. And please don't look it up. I mean, some of the stuff's easy, some of it's hard. All right. 1. Name one horror movie in which a bed kills someone.
Fuck. Did he use the bed to kill them in Jason versus Freddy versus Jason?
Yes.
Yeah, he folded it in half and
he folded it.
Okay.
While the girl was in the shower.
Yes.
But so that was the first thing I thought of, and then I felt like an idiot because I'm looking on the back for the answers, and the first suggestion is Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
Okay, yeah.
But I still don't consider that.
It didn't seem like the bed. I mean, that's literally like Freddy.
Freddy did it in Dream World. Yeah. So okay. Next one. A dog, a car, and a rabid bat
Cujo.
from 1983. Yeah. There you go. All right. Then we get the year one, which, whatever, people... In what year was John Howe's Legend of Hell House released?
Is that the original version?
Yes.
Like 1957?
Oh, you're thinking of... I think you're thinking of something different. This is the one that had Roddy McDowell in it. So it was the 70s.
1974?
Close, 73.
Okay.
I mean, nobody cares about dates, so whatever. Okay. This is the one I'm curious if you actually know, because you remember stuff. What actress played Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers? She was also in Halloween 5, and then she was also in Rob Zombie's Halloween, and she's actually done quite a bit of horror. She did some of the Hatchet movies, See No Evil 2.
I will be honest, no idea.
Danielle Harris is her name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who she is.
Yeah. And finally, this one's incredibly easy, I think. A psychotic gang of criminals kidnaps, rapes, and murders 2 teenage girls before unwittingly seeking refuge in one of their victims' homes in this 1972 film.
Last House on the Left?
That a girl. There we go.
Or guy.
So
or guy.
Yeah, whatever. So I'm trying to be, supportive of women here. Damn it. gonna do this if I remember every podcast because we can get through that pretty quickly and it's interesting. I don't know.
All right, thanks for letting me know. You're gonna put me on the spot every single one of these that we do.
Hey man, you're always flexing your reading knowledge, and now I'm gonna flex my I have the answers on the back of a card knowledge.
All right, well, now that we know that that's coming up, I'll look forward to it next weekend or week.
Yes.
All right. Well, there you go. We had a really good episode of House of the Dragon, and I think Prey was a decent contribution to the Predator franchise. Aha! Before I forget, there's a lot of shit I want to watch this week because a lot of it just came out last week when I was working. But we have Midnight Club on Netflix, the new Mike Flanagan series based on the Christopher Pike books, which I never read, so I have no idea what.
Is Midnight Club a movie?
It's a new series, and it's not just a limited series. You know, like all of his other series that he's done has. This is going to have a season 2 at least.
Okay. All right. Just make sure and let me know when you name a movie, because a movie I could get.
Hellraiser, the new one that just came out on Hulu.
Hey, she's a Disney princess, according to IMDb.
Who?
Pinhead.
Oh. And Mr. Harrington's Phone, which just came out on Netflix based on the Stephen King short story. And interestingly enough, Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus, which supposedly is actually really good from all the reviews I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, that was actually a conversation that Eric and Joe had. I know nothing about it. Is it like an old story that I should know?
No, he was just like a werewolf dude, you know, because monsters exist in the MCU. You know, like Dracula, Blade was a character, you know. And he was just a werewolf who, you know, fought the forces of darkness sometimes. He was one of the Midnight Suns who hung out with, like, Morbius and Ghost Rider and Blade and all of those guys.
Okay. And now, is this a series, or is this just...
From what I understand, this is just, like, it's not even a movie length. It's like a special, as they called it. So I think it's about an hour long.
Is Hellraiser a series or a movie?
Hellraiser's a movie, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was a series. That's why I've avoided it. Now I've got to look that up. But if it's a movie, I will absolutely.
Interestingly enough, my wife fell asleep to it tonight, so I was like, well, I'm glad that Pinhead can put you to sleep.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour long movie, but yes, it is a movie, so that is... Alright, so I can watch those 3 things. Mr. Harrington's Phone, Hellraiser, Werewolf by Night, because everything else you said was a TV series, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of horror stuff that came out that I hadn't had a chance to watch. So, all right. There we go. Internet, enjoy your time off, because we'll be back soon. And Kent, have a good night, man.
That's right. You too.